She never announced it. There was no speech, no confession, no dramatic moment where the truth fell apart in a single breath. My wife made her choice quietly, the way people do when they don't want to be challenged, when they want the outcome without the discomfort of honesty. At first, I thought something was wrong with me. That's usually where these stories begin, not with betrayal, but with self-doubt. I started questioning my tone, my patience, my presence. I replayed conversations in my head, wondering where I had failed, where I had become less interesting, less necessary, less chosen. I told myself marriages change, that comfort replaces excitement, that silence doesn't always mean distance. But silence has weight, and hers kept getting heavier. She stopped asking how my day was. Not all at once, just gradually enough that I couldn't pinpoint when it disappeared. One day I noticed I was already halfway through dinner before realizing she hadn't said a word to me. She scrolled through her phone, nodding occasionally, responding with sounds instead of sentences. When I asked what she was reading, she tilted the screen away without thinking. That was the first time something inside me tightened. We still lived together. We still shared a bed. We still moved through the routines of marriage like actors who knew their blocking well enough to perform without rehearsal. From the outside, nothing looked broken. Friends still called us solid. Family still used us as an example. But the truth is, a marriage can end long before anyone leaves. She began making decisions without me. Small ones at first. Plans with friends. Weekend arrangements. Financial choices that used to involve discussion. When I asked, she'd say, I just figured it out. As if my involvement was optional now, like asking permission instead of partnership. I didn't push back. That's another thing I regret. I thought giving her space would bring her back. I thought if I didn't crowd her, she'd remember me. Instead, she grew more comfortable without me. There's a particular loneliness that comes from being present, but irrelevant. From sitting across from someone who knows your habits, your history, your fears, and still chooses not to engage. She laughed more, just not with me. Smiled at messages I wasn't part of. Took calls in other rooms. Lowered her voice when she spoke to certain people, then raised it again when she returned, as if flipping a switch. I asked her once, carefully, if something was wrong between us. She didn't say no. She said, I'm just tired. That was the beginning of the end, even though I didn't recognize it yet. Because tired became her answer for everything. Tired of talking. Tired of explaining. Tired of conflict. Tired of trying. And slowly, without saying it, she made it clear that she was tired of me. Still, I stayed. I stayed because we had history. Because we had shared struggles that felt too important to discard. Because love doesn't disappear overnight, and hope is stubborn even when it's starving. I stayed because I believed commitment meant enduring the quiet seasons too. What I didn't understand was that while I was enduring, she was exiting. She stopped including me in her future tense. When she talked about plans, they didn't include we. When she talked about goals, they were framed as hers alone. Vacations became, maybe someday, and someday stopped sounding like it involved me. One evening, she came home late without calling. Not unusual anymore, but something in her energy felt different. Lighter. Distracted. She smiled as she set her bag down, humming to herself. Asked how her day went. Good, she said. Just that. No details. I waited. She didn't add anything. That's when it hit me. She wasn't hiding anything from me. She simply wasn't thinking about me at all. Her choice wasn't another person, at least not in the way people expect. Her choice was herself, but not in a healthy, self-aware way. It was a version of herself that no longer made room for marriage. A version that saw partnership as a limitation instead of a shared foundation. She wanted the benefits of being married without the responsibility of being a wife. She wanted support without presence. Loyalty without effort. Understanding without transparency. And she assumed I would accept that role quietly. I tried one last time to bridge the distance. I planned a night just for us. No phones. No distractions. I cooked her favorite meal. Set the table the way I used to when we were new. When she walked in, She looked surprised, then mildly inconvenienced. "Oh," she said. "I already ate." Something inside me broke then, softly, like glass underwater. "We sat anyway." I talked. She listened just enough to be polite. When I asked her if she still wanted this, she paused. Not long enough to think, but long enough to reveal the truth. "I don't know," she said. I didn't really think about it. That was her answer. Not yes. Not no. Just indifference. And that's when I understood. Her choice had already been made. Not in a dramatic moment, but in every small dismissal, every quiet exclusion, every decision she made alone. She had chosen a life where I was optional, where my voice was background noise, where my presence was familiar but unnecessary. She just didn't think she needed to say it out loud. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I didn't try to convince her of my value. I sat there, listening to the hum of the refrigerator, the sound of a house that no longer felt like home. I realized that staying would mean accepting a role where I was always waiting to be chosen by someone who already had. So, I made my own choice. I stopped asking. I stopped adjusting myself to fit her comfort. I stopped trying to earn a place I already deserved. I began focusing on my own stability, my own voice, my own dignity. I didn't rush to leave, but I stopped clinging. She noticed eventually. People always do when you withdraw your emotional labor. When you stop filling the silence they created. She asked what was wrong, finally. I told her the truth. "You made a choice without saying it," I said. "And I heard you." She looked confused, then defensive, then quiet. But for once, her reaction didn't matter. Because I wasn't waiting for her to explain herself anymore. Sometimes, the loudest decisions are the ones made without words. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is stop pretending you didn't hear them. I didn't lose my wife all at once. I lost her slowly, sentence by sentence, until there was nothing left to respond to. But in recognizing that, I found something I hadn't realized I'd been giving away. Myself. And this time, I chose me, clearly, honestly, and out loud.